All right, this is the start of chapter unit 4. We're talking about inequalities here. So we're in your inequalities notes packet, and we are on page number 2 for the first lesson. So lesson 4.1 is about intro to inequalities and graphing. We're first going to start off talking about a couple symbols and see what these things are going to look like when we actually put them on a graph. So to get us started, we have this symbol right here. It opens up, and if you were to actually open it up, you would get the letter L. And in words, this symbol represents less than. So when we see it on a graph, we're going to go ahead, just put a couple little numbers on here. So we can just put 0, 1, and 2. And on a graph, anytime we're graphing less than, we're going to actually place an open circle on the number that we're focusing on. And then we're going to actually be shading, and you can shade just slightly above the line so that it's apparent with your pencil, and then put an arrow on the end of it. So less than looks like this. It is going to go to the left. So less than goes to the left side. With this being less than, this one is greater than. And similarly to this one, let's just call this 1 and 0 and 2. We are also going to have an open circle here, and then greater than is going to shade up to the right. And that makes sense. Numbers greater than are up on the right side. The next symbol that we see here is less than or equal to. And when we talk about this one, it actually is inclusive of the number that we are looking at on the graph. So if we're including 1, we're actually going to say less than or equal to. So it actually gets a closed circle, and less than or equal to still shades down to the left, similar to the less than symbol itself. Next symbol that we have is greater than or equal to. And because it does have that equal to part to it, again, we are going to be inclusive of the numbers. So let's go ahead and include the 1 here. So we have 1 is filled in, and then greater than shades to the right-hand side. For this next one, we have equal to. And when we look at a graph, if we were to number this -1, 0, and 1, we would actually just have a dot on that particular number then. So we wouldn't have any shading in any directions or anything special like that. The last symbol here I just want to point out to you means not equal. We're not going to actually see that on a chart or on a graph of any shape or form, but it just does mean not equal, and it's good to know. So for the next couple, we're going to practice graphing, and what we're going to do is first identify what the symbol is, talk about if it has an open or closed circle, and then we're going to actually talk about shading then, as well as this target number. So in this first example, I have x is greater than or equal to -2. So I'm going to go ahead and find -2 on my number line. That's my target number. And this says greater than or equal to, which tells me the circle is going to be closed. So I'm going to go ahead and put a closed circle on -2. Because x is greater than this, it would mean that x could be any value that's greater than or larger than -2. So I'm going to be shading up to the right and put an arrow on the end of it to show that it continues going in that particular direction. Your arrow does not have to extend all the way down to the end of the number line. In number 2, we have x is less than 5. 5 is my target number. Less than deserves an open circle. So on 5, we're going to go ahead and place an open circle. Shading less than, you can actually turn this into an arrow, shades to the left. And again, you can put yours slightly above the line, but not too much. We don't want to do anything like this because that's a little bit too over the top there. But if we go just slightly above our line so we can see the difference, it's fine. If you would prefer to use like a highlighter and put arrows at the end, or colored pencils or markers, you're welcome to do that as well. Taking a look at number 3, x is less than or equal to 6. 6 is my target number. Less than or equal deserves a closed because it includes the 6. And x is less than, so we're going to be shading down to the left side here. For the fourth one with this, x is greater than 1. So on the 1, I'm going to put my target number, and it's just greater than, so it doesn't include the 1, so it's an open circle. And I'm going to go ahead and shade to the right side then. If you flip it on over to page 3, these are just multiple choice questions, trying to determine if you can identify open and closed circle and which direction we're looking at here. So in question number 1, x is greater than or equal to -2. So that's going to deserve a closed circle, which eliminates choices A and choices C. Greater than or equal to would shade to the right, so B shades to the left, which is not correct, but D does in fact shade to the right, and the target number is at -2. So D is our correct answer here. In number 2, we have x is less than 3. So less than is going to give me an open circle, so I'm going to eliminate B and D here. And open circles on 3 happen in A and C, so I'm looking at my shading. Less than shades to the left, so it looks like C is in fact my correct answer here. Taking a look at number 3, I have x is greater than 12. That's going to give me an open circle on 12 and greater than shades to the right. So it's going to be letter choice C is the correct answer on this one. For number 4, we have x is less than or equal to -15. So we're going to have a closed circle here. And then we're going to be shading down to the left, pointing this way with the arrow. So B is going to be our correct answer. Almost last piece here. We have 2 more things to talk about. So our next one is just practice writing our inequality. So we're looking here at our target number. We have the target number 4. So we're going to have x, and then we're going to have target number of 4. I noticed that my circle is actually closed, which means this is going to be an or equal to situation. And I do notice that I'm shading to the right. So the right is going to be a greater than symbol, and it can be greater than or equal to because the circle is actually closed in and inclusive of that 4. In number 2, my target number is a -20, so I'm going to put x and my -20. Noticing it is closed in, it's going to be an or equal to 1, and it is pointing to the left. So x is less than or equal to -20. In number 3, our target number is -16, so I'm going to put a -16 and an x. I notice it's open, which means it's either less than or greater than, and it is pointing, shading down to the left. So x is less than -16. In number 4, my target number is a -2, so I have x and a -2. It is a closed up circle here, and it is shading down to the left. So I'm going to have less than or equal to a -2 for this one. Final topic for this lesson is at the top of page number 4, values that satisfy the inequality. So we're going to be looking, if we were to see a number line, we'd want to know which numbers actually fit this. In other words, which numbers could take the place of x. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your x is always on the left-hand side, because it's going to make more logical sense to you this way. So x is less than or equal to 4. Which numbers in this list are less than or equal to 4? That's what you're trying to figure out. 2 fits that bill, 4 fits it, as well as 3. 7 does not, because 7 is larger than 4. In the next one, x is greater than or equal to 12. So it has to be 12 or larger. 14 would be larger, and 12 would actually be equal to, so that would work. 10 and 8 are both smaller. In the third example, x is less than 5. So we're not including 5 here. It actually has to be smaller than 5. So 4 or 3 or 2 would all work. In number 4, this is an example where we're talking about the x has to come first. So we have 7 is greater than x. What we want to do is we just want to swap the x and the 7 around, and notice that the arrow is pointing to the x and opening up to the 7. So when I rewrite it, I want to make sure I point to the x and open up to the 7 side. X is less than 7. So which numbers on this list are less than 7? 6 and 4 would work. X is less than or equal to 11. So which numbers are less than or equal to 11? The only one here that would work is an 8. In the last example, x is greater than 4. So numbers greater than 4 in this list are 8 and 6. And that wraps it up then for lesson 4.1, Intro to Inequalities.